Are you ready?
POWERRR. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party.
It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
What is up, everybody? Somebody still has their YouTube on. This is the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news, for information, for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J. Cal, and I'm joined with some of my best buds. You've got, below me, you've got Jaden from Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. You've got Tim Wood from NWA Gold, and of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. DKM. Welcome to the podcast, fellas.
Did you just tell me to blow you?
And now it starts.
Good night, everybody. Wow.
And that's the show. So what's up, guys? How are you? How's everyone doing?
I'm here.
Doing good, man. Doing good.
I haven't killed anybody today. I'm doing okay, I guess.
Day's not over yet.
Yeah, it ain't over yet.
Hey, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but we just hit 1K on our YouTube channel. Did you guys know that?
I had heard that.
Well, I want to personally, we said it on the pre-party the other night. I want to take another opportunity to say thanks to all of you guys who've watched this podcast over the last 2 years here on YouTube. We started this channel back in, I said 2 years, it's closer to 4 years now. We started this podcast, this YouTube page in 2018. In fact, May 30th, 2018. In 4 days will have been 4 years since we started this group, this page. And since then, it's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of smiles, a lot of tears, and a lot of overall just gratefulness that you guys have been a part of this. We've been uploading daily content, small little video clips. We've been doing this weekly podcast now for about 3 or 4 years. I don't even remember. Before that, our podcasts were all just audio only. We started doing video just in the last couple of years. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for everyone who's been a part of the Alliance Guys podcast. And that includes Mr. Wood right here. Of course, Jaden, DKM, Kevin Frazier, our pal Jeremy over at Wrestling with MMA, Lamb, everyone that's been a part of this group that's helped grow it. I also don't want to leave out Dave Scooby, Rick Del
Did you say helped grow it?
I did say growed it, and I was hoping you're going to let that slide.
No. My dad was an English teacher. I ain't going to let that slide.
It's 90s slang. You can get away with it.
Who helped this channel grow to its volume now. So again, guys, this is the thank you part. Next week we'll be talking about title belts. Mr. Tim Wood will join us on the pre-party where we'll make that announcement. Hopefully you guys can be there for that. But I also, before you interrupt me, I wanted to make sure I shouted out Dave Scooby and Rick Del Santo, both for their joint contributions to the podcast as well. And with that being said, let's talk some NWA. The question that I posed in the description of this video is about our World's Heavyweight Champion, Matt Cardona. Are you happy? Matt Cardona. I did say that correctly. You can tell your English teaching father that I got that one right. What do we think about Matt Cardona and his run as World's Heavyweight Champion? Jaden, because of the help that you've done with Dr. Lawrence Zirconium out there at Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, you've seen many of world champions come in and out of your area. What do you think about Matt Cardona as a world champion?
If he was defending it all the places he was wrestling, I would have thought he'd been great. Does he even defend it in the NWA? That's debatable. So I like the name. He's a talented guy, and I once said that if he was out of the WWE, somebody would be smart enough to make money with him, and they'll be able to do it easily. I don't think Billy Corgan is that guy, and I don't think the NWA is the launching pad that needs to use Matt Cardona to take that title into the stratosphere.
Tim, how do you feel about this world champion? I mean, with the work that you do at NWA Gold, I mean, you've referenced, you've researched, you've re-examined many championship belts, but the men that have also held them, I know you've learned their stories as well. What do you think about the job that Matt Cardona is doing as World's Heavyweight Champion?
I think the job that he's doing is pretty disappointing, and Jaden put the nail on the head. If he had been defending it in all the places where we see and hear him appearing outside the NWA, amazing. But he's not. I don't even know how many title defenses he's had in the NWA, but it's a handful at most. I think he was the right guy to put the title on, even at the expense of Trevor Murdoch. And I like Trevor Murdoch. It was just, here's an opportunity, and this is a guy who came out of a place that he didn't want to be in and made something out of himself. And I feel like the NWA kind of hitched their wagon to that particular star, and they should have allowed him or pressured him. I don't know what the arrangement is to do more with that title than he's doing. It's a bit of a disappointment.
And of course, DKM, our resident wrestling historian, your thoughts on Matt Cardona's 10 pounds. He just hit 100 days. I did want to point that out too. He just hit 100 days as your World's Heavyweight Champion. How do you feel about the job he's done as World's Heavyweight Champion?
Well, I don't think he's done a horrible job, but the truth is he hasn't done a good job. And more importantly, we were kind of sold a bill of goods when it came to him. The reason he was brought in, the reason they didn't have to build him up or build to a title match, or, the reason they rushed to put the title on him, because this guy was money and he was exposure and he was going to take the title everywhere. And, fans loved him. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but he's actually cooled off now, just like most things. He's still wrestling a lot of places, but people don't talk about him as much as they were. And I think some of that might be a little bit of overexposure too. But we were kind of sold a bill of goods about how he was going to take the title everywhere and get us, all this recognition, us being the NWA. And I haven't really seen that happening. I mean, he main event smaller promotions. He main evented GCW for a short period of time. He doesn't main event Impact. So, I mean, I don't know that we were getting what we were sold by putting the title on it.
I wanted to point out that Matt Cardona's 100-day reign as champion started around February 12th, 2022. Just 100 days. And in that time, what we've seen from Cardona is a total of 3 defenses of the 10 pounds of gold. Of course, he famously wrestled Nick Aldis at the Crockett Cup, where he won by disqualification. He did defeat Elijah Burke, the Pope, in a very clean match on NWA Power. Can't really fault him on that one. He also defeated Richard Holiday at the All-Star Wrestling in West Virginia at their 16th anniversary show, where it was a title versus title match. Originally, it was supposed to be Davey Richards in that match, but he had to bail out at the last minute, and Richard Holiday came in for the replacement. And that's where our World's Heavyweight Champion also acquired the ASW Heavyweight Championship. But I also want to point out that he's had roughly 24 matches in total since February, and only a handful of those have been for the NWA. Now, it was expected when he became champion that, of course, he had other obligations and other bookings that he was going to honor, of course. But since becoming World's Heavyweight Champion, the only place he's defended that title outside of the NWA ring is All-Star Wrestling. We haven't seen him take that title anywhere else. I mean, famously, Nick Aldis took that belt all across the globe, to China, to Europe, specifically the UK. He defended that title in Canada. He's defended the title all over the United States. And I don't expect anybody to match that level of commitment to the title and defending it and putting it in everywhere that it went. But we also have to keep in mind that, to what Jaden said, what DKM said, this title run just hasn't delivered. Like Tim said as well. I think we're all kind of on the same page here. The belt just doesn't seem to have the mileage it had when Nick Aldis first won it back in 2017. And, to a lesser extent, Trevor Murdoch also had difficulty getting those title defenses outside of the NWA. We didn't really see him take that title anywhere except for that one event in St. Louis, I think it's SCIW, where he wrestled one match outside of the NWA, defended the 10 pounds of gold. Do you feel that might be a problem for the NWA, that the champions are not, the world's heavyweight champion isn't really well represented outside of the NWA? Tim, I mean, what do you think? Do you think that the belt should be defended outside of the NWA, or is it something that should be specific to Billy Corgan's NWA?
No, Jaden really got me thinking about that a few weeks ago when he asked me on this show, do you think that, basically that question, do you think that the NWA champion should travel? And I had to think about that a while. Absolutely, I do. I think that he should be all over the place. And we're not talking about a company here who's reaching a national audience in the same way that, the big two are. Or even ways like MLW are right now. We're just not. And getting into the independents, which the NWA is the way to go. And with Cardona, I'm afraid that it's just like the upside for Cardona for me, and I like Nick Aldis, is that he's not Nick Aldis. I don't want to see the title on Aldis. And I'm afraid that he's a short champion to move the title from Murdoch back to Aldis.
DK, same question to you, man. What do you think?
Well, he needs to be out there. He needs to be out there as NWA champion. He needs to be winning. I'm looking on Jay's favorite website, Cage Match.
It's a good site. It's not always accurate, but it's pretty good.
No, I mean, it doesn't have everything, but it records enough to give you a picture. So since April 1st, which was the WrestleMania weekend, he has a win for defending the Impact Digital Media title.
Mm-hmm.
He lost in a tag team match with Nick Aldis and Mickey James against Chelsea Green and him. He lost to Chris Dickinson at Joey Janela's spring break thing. Beat someone named Gino Medina for GCWA. I don't know who that is.
Gino's a local Texas talent.
Yeah, and I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
NWA World Title ASW title. He did defeat Richard Holiday, who was fighting for Davey Richards. So he didn't beat the champion to win a championship.
But real quick with Richard Holiday too, I want to just point out, at least he's a top tier guy. I mean, in MLW, they're building towards a match with him and Hammerstone. He was part of that group, the collective with Hammerstone and MJF. So he plays a pivotal role in MLW. Now, this was outside of MLW, but I just want to point out that it's kind of a higher caliber athlete.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good win. It's a good title defense. Defeated Josh Prohibition.
Whoa, that's a Josh Prohibition used to team with Matt Cross in the early 2000s as part of Euthanasia. They tag teamed all over the independents. I didn't know he was still wrestling, to be honest with you, but
well, that was for the AIW Absolute title. For Impact, in a World Tag Team Title Elimination Challenge. Let me see if I can find out who he teamed with. I'm not seeing it right away. Major players, Brian Myers and Matt Cardona.
Right.
So they were in it, so they didn't win that. Lost the NYWC title in a triple threat match. Don't know if he was pinned or if the other guy in the triple threat was pinned.
Right.
Lost to the Dark Order, Alex Reynolds and John Silver, with Brian Myers.
That was that Creative Pro.
Yeah, I guess. See it, Cap.
Yeah.
And let's see. Lost in a FWF Hardcore title match in New York. Lost in a AIW Intense title match by DQ.
Which means he kept the title.
Yeah. And let's see. Lost in a big multiple tag team title match at the same show and an AIW match.
Yeah.
So one of those. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess an 8-person tag. And so, but his last 3 matches have all been losses. Actually, his last 4, 5. So, it's not good enough to just be out there. That's what I took a long time to say. It's not good enough to just be out there.
Well, there's something to, if there was some exclusivity where the only place you could see Matt Cardona is in the NWA, then, I guess I'd be okay with 3 title defenses and a 100-day period. In the olden days, there was that 30-day rule that if a champion couldn't defend the title in a 30-day window, they would strip him of the title. Now, you look at the NWA as it currently sits. Now, there was a live event just a couple weeks ago in Oak Grove, Kentucky, that Matt Cardona did not participate in. Under the old NWA guidelines, he would have been stripped of the title. So it's I don't know. He is a guy that I think has a ton of upside, and I think there's a lot of potential in using a guy like Matt Cardona. But if they're not going to use him the way that will benefit them, I think they're just, wasting money, wasting time. Because we could have that chance. Trevor Murdoch was this guy. Trevor Murdoch was moving that ball as much as Matt Cardona was. I don't really see much of a difference as them being champions. To DKM's point, they're not talking about Matt Cardona as NWA Worlds Heavyweight Champion on the podcast anymore. You don't hear it on Busted Open where they're talking about what Cardona is doing for the NWA. Hell, they talk more about what Nick Aldis is doing for the NWA than what Matt Cardona is doing for the NWA. So I guess we're in agreement, we're in unison that the reign of Matt Cardona, at least up until this point, has been pretty underwhelming. Would I be correct in saying that?
Wouldn't have any arguments for me.
No, 100%.
Not at all.
So with that being said, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I want to look at another champion within the NWA who I think is doing it absolutely correctly, and that's Homicide, the World Junior Heavyweight Champion. Contrarily to what Matt Cardona has done, he's defended that title twice on NWA USA, twice on NWA Power. We know that there's a title defense that's at Power Trip. We don't know the results of that just yet, but he's been defending that title on the independent circuit, as well as in the NWA. He's been very much out there as a World Junior Heavyweight Champion. Jade, I know you're quite familiar with Homicide. What do you think about the job he's doing as World Junior Heavyweight Champion?
Do you remember at the interview with Chance Prophet, former Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Heavyweight Champion, where he was talking about how there was a lot of promoters outside of the NWA who were very, very willing to put an NWA championship match on their card just because they love the NWA letters and name, even though they weren't in any way, shape, or form associated with the NWA, or maybe even a very, very loose association. Because they liked the NWA's name and it still meant something to them and to their crowd, they did it. Homicide's taking advantage of that. So that basically leaves no excuse for anybody else not taking advantage of that. If there are still, and I'm going to call it mark promoters out there, and I don't mean mark promoters who are marks because they put on wrestling and hang out with names and do all stuff. I mean actual people that are fans of the NWA who are still very happy to have an NWA's champion on their card and defending. So why isn't the NWA out there facilitating that relationship? Maybe, just maybe, it was because the old NWA used to have, anytime the championship was defended anywhere, was on their website, was on any kind of news whatsoever. They were constantly talking about it. It was the talk of the alliance-wrestling.com message board forever. Maybe, just again, maybe it's because this NWA, if it doesn't happen on badly booked Billy Corgan television, it doesn't happen. And so maybe, just maybe, people don't want to do it because they're not getting anything out of it. But to Homicide, great job. He's doing a great job. He's doing what a champion should be doing. He's always been a talented wrestler, always been a fan of mine. He's actually a fan of mine. I've always been a fan of his, I should say. He loves me too, though, in case you're wondering. But, he's a very good wrestler. He can do. He has a big-time championship pedigree, both in and out of the NWA, and he's taking that junior heavyweight championship and making it mean something more than I can say about any other champion right now in the NWA.
Tim, what are your thoughts?
I mean, he's not going out to other promotions, no other independents, but he doesn't need to because he's found a way, as you pointed out, on POWERRR and USA. Every match is a title match. That's my thing. To go out and do a great job every time we see him. It's exciting to see Mr. 187. He's a longtime fan favorite, and I think that part of it too, for comparatively to Cardona, is that Cardona portrays a chicken shit heel, right? He's cowardly. He's clutching that title to his chest. You can't have it. I don't have to defend it against you. Maybe that's part of the problem when it comes to the booking. It might have been more successful for Cardona, if he went outside to other promotions. But even within the NWA, if he were defending it on a more frequent basis, that might have helped too. But yeah, Homicide's doing it right with what he's got right now for sure, and it's great to see it happen.
DK, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, not really. I mean, I'm looking at him on a cage match, and you see where he's wrestled more and had more title matches, and only has one loss, and that was in recently. And that was in New Japan Strong, where he lost to Will Ospreay. And so, hey.
I would say there's no shame in that whatsoever.
No, and so, Tim pointed out, we're seeing two different ways to book a title. And there are times that you do want the chicken shit heel and stuff like that. This isn't one of when you only promote, 4 shows in a 4-month period and 3 of them are back to back to back, it's, you got to the champion's got to mean something. Heel, face, tweener, whatever you want. And they're not doing that with the world champion, but they are pushing the junior heavyweight champion. And so maybe we need Homicide to go slap the taste out of Matt Cardona.
I mean, wouldn't that be exciting? I want to point out that our boy Homicide has had 5 title defenses. I know Cage Match only lists 4, but he also faced Pretty Peter Avalon on April the 10th for Catalyst Wrestling. So I mean that he's had more title defenses in less time. He's had more TV time on Power than, of course, Matt Cardona has. Not Power, but on NWA programming. So it's a slam dunk where you've got this junior heavyweight champion who had a big name outside of the NWA before he came to the NWA, and has been doing everything right as champion. And then you got Matt Cardona, who, again, I don't want to fault this just on Matt Cardona. I mean, look, people have to be willing to book him and willing to use him, and maybe that's part of the problem as well. I don't know, but you can see there's a dichotomy there between the 2 world champions, both your heavyweight and junior heavyweight, and ideally that gap would be closed, and who knows, maybe after Always Ready we'll see a more vigilant world's heavyweight champion, or maybe we'll just see Nick Aldis regain the title. I guess that remains to be seen and how that will all play out. But I thought it was at least worth having that conversation. So in other NWA wrestling news, and I'm having difficulty pulling up my document here, so I'll just freehand here. We do know that there's been some more matches announced for the pay-per-view. Always Ready. Initially, we knew the big match that I think caught a lot of people off guard. That's being billed as the swan song for Aaron Stevens, and that's the matchup between he and Trevor Murdoch. Initially, the rivalry these two had kind of helped spearhead the NWA and the mid card for the NWA in the first 2 seasons of Power. Remember, both of them fought over the national championship. Of course, all the silliness with the question mark was put into this, but eventually Trevor Murdoch would defeat Aaron Stevens for that national championship on a primetime live episode. First of all, I'm going to go to you, Tim. Your thoughts on Aaron Stevens' recent run in the NWA, and do you really think this is goodbye for Aaron Stevens?
Don't think much of the recent run from Aaron in the NWA. Have been a fan in the past. I don't think this is the end. I don't know anything, but I like to think that this is not legit, so to speak. I think you got 2 guys right now, both who are great talents, who don't have anything to do, and they've got to figure something out, with the 2 of them. But it's possible that he's leaving. Like after Impact, Aaron went away for 2 years or so. I don't think he was doing anything.
Yeah.
So, and then he came to the NWA, and we had some fun with Aaron for the last 2 years. Maybe this is it. Don't currently buy it, and if it isn't, I hope that they improve what it is that he's doing.
Jade, what do you think?
I kind of hope not, but maybe he's doing some acting. I know he actually did a little bit of that legitimately. Mm-hmm. He might have a role or something like that. Maybe he'll come back as a mask guy. God, I hope not. But Aaron Stevens is a talent. I'm not sure why he would even consider leaving. Maybe it's just he lost a smile. Maybe it's the NWA's booking. But I'm happy to see the match. I do like Aaron Stevens. I do like Trevor Murdoch, so I'm happy to see that match. It's probably one of the more matches that have me a little more interested than most. But there's no reason, no real signs on how they should have built this. It just came out of nowhere. So if they knew they were going to do this, they should have built it up for a while and made some hints and everything that's going to happen and have a reason for this to happen. And if it just came out of nowhere, I guess it's a good swan song for Aaron Stevens.
DK?
Well, there was a small build-up, but not a good build-up. I don't know if it's real or not. The more it's said, the more I think it's not. As in, that's kind of the way wrestling works. Could he be going away for a while? Sure. Sometimes people need to go away. Sometimes they need to, as the old joke goes, I can't miss you if you don't go away. And sometimes you need to miss people. Honestly, that's what I've been saying about Nick Aldis. He's always there. When he takes time off, it's for a week. And then he's always there.
Yeah.
And it's like, give Nick Aldis a 6-month break. Give us a chance to miss him. Give us a chance to be excited that he's coming back to challenge for the title. Instead of going, oh crap, not again.
Yeah.
And
I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more.
So, I mean, I don't know. Because I don't know what they're doing with Trevor Murdoch either anymore. And we'll talk about that when we talk about Power, but it's just, I don't know what's going on. Hopefully it will be a good match. And it all will.
And I honestly think it's going to be a good match. I don't see how it could not be a good match. These guys have shared the ring with each other 6 times over the last 4 years between Power, Primetime Live, and pay-per-view. So I do feel like these guys can have a great match together. I think it's a very telling story with Stevens kind of unsure where he fits into this world, and Trevor Murdoch is just angry, just a very, very angry man. So there is a bit of a story there, but we do know that Aaron Stevens does a lot of behind-the-scenes work for Hollywood. He works in the creative with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. He might be taking more of a backstage role for the NWA. I'm not certain where he will fit in going forward if this genuinely is a swan song. But I will say this, that I enjoyed Stevenson's work in the NWA. Would hate to see it come to a close, but of course, if that's what it's involved, if that's what it takes for the show to move forward, then so be it. Are we ready to talk about USA?
USA. Sure.
Real quick, our pal Luthez says, I'm not saying the National Treasure is too involved, but if the NWA put out a DVD titled Munchnik, I would assume it was the best of an Aldis compilation. That's great. Thank you, Lou. I appreciate the humor. That was awesome.
Okay. I'm not that entertained in a while.
So NWA USA was a mixed bag. I constantly watch this show every week. Our pal Bobby Petito was always saying which matches he liked on USA, and I try to come at it with fresh eyes. I try not to put the same prejudices that I've grown to have from Power onto USA. I try to treat it like it's a separate entity. Try to treat it like it's a separate show. And from time to time, it's a lot of times it's good. Lately, I don't feel like it has been. This episode, like I said, was a mixed bag. We start off with the episode with May Valentine in the back, and she's with Sal Renaro. I'm not going to call him my pal Sal because he is no friend of mine. However, he sings both parts to Friends and also House of the Rising Sun. This whole thing is a little odd to me. I'm not sure how they're trying to develop this character. I don't know what they're trying to do with him. I don't know if this was the best use of TV time. DK, what did you think about this?
I thought, why am I watching this? I had no more thoughts than that. Why? Tim, did you have thoughts?
I like Sal Renaro.
I'm sorry, you can't be on the show anymore.
No. Here's the as a talent, I hate the way he's being used. I didn't buy the Dungeon of Doom when I was, I don't know, when the hell was the Dungeon of Doom? Was I 14 or something like that then? It was hokey then. It's even dumber now. This isn't the NWA that when I was a child, I went away from the WWF because I couldn't get into this stuff. This segment was meaningless and silly.
The thing about this is, and we said it last week too, is, Billy Corgan bought a legacy brand, and I was there in the Carburus Arena, whatever it was called in Charlotte, when they talked about the NWA, when Billy Corgan with Jim Cornette sat up on the stage. You can watch that video on this YouTube channel. But during that whole segment, he talked about the rich history and tradition of like the Chicago independent wrestling and the NWA in Chicago from when he was a kid. And it sounded very romantic, like he was really much in love with the product from that bygone era. And I kind of thought that maybe when he was taking over the NWA modern day, we would see more of a callback to that kind of wrestling, more of the traditional historical style of wrestling. And what we're seeing, I feel like, is some sort of bastardized version of everything that I hated about the WWF growing up, everything I didn't like about Impact Wrestling a few years ago, and this menagerie of garbage. It just, these gimmicks are stupid. And I think there is a good place for Sinister Minister, and I even think that they could have done something interesting with Judas. But this whole what is it called? The the ill-deprived, whatever they are, it's not good. It's not entertaining to me.
It's really easy for any of us in the chat or on the show right now to armchair book, but 5 minutes, couldn't you come up with something better than that segment?
Yeah.
When you've got hey, listen, you and May have been friends since the first episode, way back with Isaac. That's right. You were her buddy. Just like, maybe she's just something like, Sal, what's wrong with you? You need to come back from the dark side. And even that would have been better.
Yes.
Billy, I'll leave my number at the bottom of the scrolling thing. Just give me a call.
Dave Scooby corrected me. It's Miserably Faithful.
Miserably Faithful.
Which, look, we're all miserable after watching that segment. So, moving on. In the booth, we have
not faithful.
Not faithful to that. No. In the booth, we have William Patrick Corgan joining Velvet Sky and Joe Galley. And, I'll be honest, sometimes I do appreciate hearing Billy in the booth, not because I feel like I'm going to gain some sort of historic relevance of what the product is or what's happening, but like, I want to hear what he's like tickled about, what he likes and what he sees in the ring. And when you hear him get excited, maybe kind of an idea of like, oh, he appreciates that. Maybe we'll see more of that. There is a little bit of insight with him in the booth. And most of all, it's not Austin Idol, so you don't have to hear Sky going back and forth with Idol. So that's always a good thing. The first match we get, which is, I don't know why you would open up a match, a television show with your World Junior Heavyweight title, but nevertheless, we get Black G's versus Homicide. Now, I believe this, I said earlier that Homicide has had 5 title defenses since winning the World Junior Heavyweight Championship, and that's just what I know of. There could be other matches that we missed or that aren't listed on Cage Match. Again, that's why that site is it's kind of limited, because they don't go out and search for the results. If they're not prominently displayed, they won't find them. This is his second title match on NWA USA. Of course, the first one was against Doug Williams. And this match was a heck of a lot more competitive than I thought it would be. Black G's looked pretty good to me. I know DK had a spot where he'll probably talk about here in a minute. The conclusion of the match was Side hitting his cutter off the top rope. And despite just a few hiccups, I thought it was a pretty good match. DKM, what did you think of this matchup between Homicide and Black G's?
I felt like there was a theme this week between USA and even Power, in which there were good matches that went longer than their excitement level.
Okay.
In other words, what I'm saying was the match was good, but by the end I was bored. It wasn't exciting enough to keep me enthralled and go, oh, this is really cool. And this is great, and I can't wait. Now, someone's going to have to do with who they put in these matches and how they're booked and how they're presented and my level of caring. But, I mean, I felt like this one, it should have been a win for, Homicide in about 5-6 minutes, really. And there was one, to me, obviously blown spot. Somebody got lost. Somebody didn't know what they were supposed to do or whatever. But G's had Homicide down. Homicide did that wiggle to get into position. And G's climbed the rope, and he's standing there with one foot on the second rope and one foot on top turnbuckle. And Homicide does the wiggle again to get like more in place. And G's is just standing there, so Homicide gets up and knocks him off the ropes. And it was just almost like, okay, I don't know what was supposed to happen, but it didn't. And because you don't just stand there. I mean, at some point, jump. The guy will either get out of the way or you'll, do a nice work splash, but
do a backflip.
Yeah, do something. Don't just stand there. I mean, and you can almost see Homicide going like, what the hell? Okay, I'll get up. And at least when he got up, he even acted like he was a little, groggy or something. And Jesus is like staring at him. And I don't know what happened. It was a little more competitive than I thought it should be. Went a little longer than I thought it should be. But overall, isolated, it was a good match. Tim, did you like it?
Yeah, largely I agree. I hate those moments, and you see them far too often these days when one guy's going up, the other guy's on his back. He's looking like, oh, gotta slide over here to the. I mean, come on, man! Like, keep me in it, I thought it was a good match. It had more false finishes than it probably needed. I feel like Homicide should be able to beat Black G's with the Northeast Bomb. Takes that second rope cutter to get the job done. But it was a good match. Yeah, if you're going to use G's outside a managerial role, this is probably where he needs to be.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a whole lot more to add to that. Again, maybe this wasn't a main event caliber match, but I feel like this match should have been the one that went on last, considering the stakes that were in play. But coming up next after that match, we have Nick Aldis with Kyle at the podium. Now, this is where Nick Aldis really does excel. And, he's definitely a great public speaker. And you hear him in podcasts or interviews or anywhere outside of a wrestling ring, and he's still just as good as he is standing right there at the podium with Kyle. Aldis speaks about what makes him proud to be a wrestler. Essentially saying that Matt Cardona makes him should make the fans ashamed to be wrestling fans. He's asking for the fans to galvanize around him. And I feel like that was a throwback to the 80s, throwback to the early 90s, when wrestling was more geared towards the kids. And Hulk Hogan wanted you to say your prayers and eat your vitamins and train like the Hulkamaniacs because he needed that galvanized fan base when he takes on, the Iron Sheik or whatever. So I kind of felt like there was that kind of energy to it, which isn't a bad thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's a good way to get the fan support behind you. But I also felt the entire time that babyface Nick is going to cut a heel promo the minute that title is around his waist again. And I just feel like he's going to call the fans a bunch of idiots as soon as he wins the title. But when it got to that part of the promo, it just did feel a little bit disingenuous to me. But, I digress. It was a fine piece of promo for the pay-per-view. Tim, what did you think of this one?
Yeah, I just can't look at Nick Aldis and see anything but either a heel or a heel who wants you to think he's a face right now. And what DKM said earlier is he's got to go away for me to buy anything that Nick's. I'm just tired of Nick. Please, somebody take him to the back. Make him actually, he already is a producer, is he not? He's an executive producer in the NWA. So
he's definitely part of creative in some shape or form.
Yeah, he, and for him to stand there at this point in his character development and turn to the audience and say, if you all get behind me one more time, I'll stop this guy who does everything that I used to do and not as bad. Like, not buying it,
DKM, your thoughts?
Well, he's a good talker. It's one of the reasons I liked him in the beginning. Little long for me. Again, maybe, a longer promo than the excitement level. He's not Dusty Rhodes.
What he wishes he was, though.
My hand, reaching out to touch your hand, That's from the Hard Times promo, if anyone wants to go watch that now. And I don't know. Nick Aldis is kind of like a modern day Ric Flair in that way. If he's chasing the title, he tends to be a face or a face-like, but when he wins the title, then he just goes back to being Ric Flair. And I don't expect, if Aldis gains the title, I don't expect him to be a long face champion. And right now, I'm just hoping he doesn't win back the title. And, we've said it on this show already. Go away for a while. Make me miss you. Make me long for the days of when Nick Aldis was champion. Not because the current champion is crap, but just that fond remembrance of. Then it'll be, oh man, he hasn't held the title for 2 years. It'll be cool for him to finally regain that.
I want him to walk down like the stairs, like Marty Scurll did 2.5 years ago, when everybody went, holy crap, and stand in the ring with whoever's champion and go, I'm back. That would make me like, Jay, you call Nick Aldis a 5-tool athlete, right? Yeah. He is. I can't watch the same show every day, every week.
I kind of agree with you, but I also know that he is the kind of guy that isn't going to walk away from the ring for that long. What I would have been very happy with, and it was something they were already kind of building towards, is they had the British invasion. They brought in Doug Williams. They were going to have Doug Williams and Nick Aldis, the British invasion, the guys that won the, IWGP tag titles, the guys that won the Impact tag team titles, and they were really playing that part up. And had they gone and done the Crockett Cup, and Aldis just washed his hands of that title picture and was not in it at all, but focused on the tag team, focused on that part of his legacy, that part of his career, he could have went and won the tag titles with Doug Williams for all I care. It would have been a different Nick Aldis. It would have been different scenery, and that would have left the world title picture to flourish with, Trevor Murdoch, Matt Cardona, Elijah Burke, the Pope, or whomever else they brought in to fill that gap. But because they pulled that rope for the rug from underneath us and put Aldis back in that title picture almost immediately once I got the belt off of Trevor Murdoch, again, I feel like it's the same old thing. And I almost feel. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, he doesn't have to go away for 2 years.
Right.
No.
But like when he was injured by Strictly Business.
That was a farce.
If he could have gone away literally for 2 TV cycles, which would have been about 6 months.
Yeah.
But
that would have been amazing.
And then you come back and you seek your revenge. And so you can get 3 to 6 months out of that. Then you come back and you win the tag team titles with your old tag team partner. you could get a year out of that.
Yeah.
And then you don't even have to be injured. You guys lose the tag team titles, maybe you have a rematch, and then you're just kind of quiet. Maybe you have a match at a taping that's shown towards the beginning. And then it's just like, you're not gone, but you're not seen that much. You're not just out there doing promos and everything like that. Then that's when you have a title change that puts the title on a heel of some kind. It's been 2 years now, so maybe we've run through Murdoch, we run through Cardona, we run through Pope. Now maybe Latimer holds the title. Right. And we had that feud with Latimer.
Yep.
So Latimer wins the title. He's in a heel position. Now all of a sudden, guess who's coming to congratulate him in the ring? Well, there's Nick Aldis.
Could you wait real quick? All right, remember that promo that Terry Funk gave Ric Flair when Ric Flair won the title back? Right. And he was like, so Rick, you're champion again. How about giving me a shot? And Rick was like, well, I don't think so. And then Terry Funk beat the ever-living crap out of Ric Flair. Imagine if the NWA had the patience to do something like that. Well, we all lost our minds.
And that's kind of where I was going. Where Aldis shows up, and then it's kind of like it's Aldis there. It was kind of like when Ric Flair went in when Barry Windham won the NWA title, and he's the one that latched it. It's like, well, is Flair there to congratulate his old four horseman buddy, or is Flair there to challenge his old four horseman buddy? And Barry didn't know either, and even though that's an underneath thing, or like you said with Funk and Flair, it's like, okay, what's really the thing? And then you spring a surprise on us. Latimer beats him up. He beats Latimer up something.
Yeah.
But that's something that gets you talking. And look, I've made that up in however many minutes because, literally just as we're here talking. And so it's just like, of course, that requires long-term planning too.
Right.
But they need to do something. Ooh, rabbit.
So that takes us, it's funny because you mentioned Tom Latimer. That takes us to 60 seconds with Tom Latimer. Again, we talked about a waste of time that Sauronaro was in the beginning of the show. And I love Latimer. You guys, Kevin Frazier helped convert us into Latimer fans on this show. This was not good. The only thing that we learned about Tom Latimer that we didn't already know is that he likes chocolate. That's about it. He rambled on for a couple of minutes and it just really didn't go anywhere. I say a couple minutes, a couple seconds. It wasn't a very good promo. Didn't do anything to make me want to see him in the ring. Didn't do anything for me to want to buy his merchandise. It didn't make me want to pursue knowing more about Latimer. It was just like, oh, this is a waste of time. DK, what did you think?
Well, I think he nailed something there. When you talked about, I didn't want to buy his merchandise based on watching this. Look, if you're a pro wrestler, you're a salesman.
Yep.
All right. You are selling three things: yourself, tickets to see you, and merchandise that you want people to buy. Because we got fans now that they're going to go buy heel merchandise.
Yep.
So, that's one of the ways the world is. Of course, people bought Freebird records just so they could break them. Michael Hayes called them idiots, and I kind of agree because
I didn't get this title until Tyrus got his. I'm just saying.
Right. So anyway, I don't know what that means, but I'm going to go ignore it for right now. But you're out to sell something as a pro wrestler. Buy tickets to see me and buy a shirt. I don't know, Tim, you're wearing an NWA shirt. why are you? And Jay's wearing an NWA shirt. I'm wearing a white shirt because, well, quite frankly, I worked today and I didn't like it. Anyway, but so, I mean, you know, you got to sell it. I mean, the last 2 times I bought NWA merchandise was just more like, that kind of looks neat. Maybe I'll get it. When I bought Thunder Rosa merchandise, it was because Thunder Rosa, Thunder Rosa, Thunder Rosa. I was like a little kid. I miss her. So, what else happened, Jay?
Well, I wanted to get Tim's thoughts on the 60 seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tim. I thought he had talked.
No, that's okay. Guys, I actually liked it.
Okay.
Okay, Tim's not allowed on the show anymore.
And now for the Democratic response.
Yes.
Look, Latimer, I thought 2 things. One, Latimer maybe has the most slappable face in the NWA. And like that, he's that guy right now. And his entire character, which has no direction, is, you know, I'm married to the women's world champion. We're the power couple. I don't have to do anything. And this promo was like, I'm married to Camille. She's great. Everything's great. I'll probably just go win the national title. Chocolate's good. See you guys later. And I thought, that's a face I want to slap. And
you forgot the dog.
That's right. That's right. But he's played to the character that he's been left with. But the other thing that I thought was, I don't know, maybe this is a quiet message to management to say, you haven't given me anything to talk about, so I'm not going to talk about anything.
That's a great point. That's very meta for the NWA, but you know, stranger things have happened. Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong with that assessment. What does he have to talk about? I know he's coming off of an injury, so there's not a whole lot he could do. But at the same time, even before the injury, there wasn't a whole lot that was going on for him. He took 2 losses. I will say it's better
than Mims.
Yeah, but he took 2 losses to Aldis before going into the spiral that he's in right now. The Crockett Cup, I mean, again, we know now that they were injured, but both Adonis and him looked great, and then until they didn't, and they ended up losing to Gold Rush. So he hasn't had a whole lot to work with anyways. Yeah. And then James Jackson says, you know, because we're on the topic of merchandise, hey, Jay, did you see that they have a Velvet After Dark t-shirt in the merch store? Yeah, I mean, look, I get it. Let's milk all the bad ideas now. When people actually start caring, we'll have nothing but good stuff. I don't know what the idea is with these guys. You know, Danny Deals is supposed to be the gimmick guy, the merch guy. Come on, man. Come on. All right.
Who?
What? Let's go to the other match on this card, and this was an actual pretty fun match. I will say that you know, the Ill Begotten, it was off to a rocky start. It's kind of weird, the dynamic that they had. Remember, it started off with Captain Yuma and Rush Freeman, and then they brought in Alex Taylor, and then they brought in our pal Jeremiah Plunkett. Then Danny Deals somehow becomes the manager of the group, and they kick Yuma out of it.
Whatever happened to him anyway?
To Captain Yuma?
He just kind of disappeared, hasn't he?
Well, he was advertised for Power Trip 2 against Trevor Murdoch, but we'll get more into that in a bit. But then that dynamic has changed even onto this episode, because, you know, William Patrick Corgan says, well, on USA, the only talent that will be accompanying the tag teams to the ring, or wrestlers to the rings, will be managers. Well, I thought Danny Deal was their manager. They were asking about Rush Freeman, and I get it, but Freeman isn't a manager. Danny Deals is supposed to be their manager. He wasn't even there. So that was kind of an odd thing. They took on the makeshift tag team of Brett Buff Shea versus Rodney Mack. Now, Buff Shea is probably my new favorite wrestling name. Brett Buff Shea, I think, is a great sound to it. Alex Taylor calls out Rodney Mack, and Mack answers with a slap to the face. You know, anytime I see Rodney Mack in the ring, it does kind of take me out of the pro wrestling match, because I look at him, I'm like, he is a murderer. He is a killer. You're putting him in here with little puppies and kittens. And we know that if the handcuffs were off, man, just destroy anybody in this match. But of course, he's got to play nice because he likes getting booked. But the odd thing is Buff Shea and Mac have this really solid chemistry for a first-time tag team. They're making quick tags, smart tag team wrestling. You don't traditionally see that on a makeshift tag team. Taylor and Plunkett managed to get the ring divided, and they started conquering. And, they kept Buff Shea out to the one side of the ring. And that's when it kind of became like an old Rock and Roll Express tag team match, because they were putting all the heat on Buff Shea, and then the hot tag to Mac, and he's in there like a house on fire, just beating the crap out of anyone that moves. A lot of good teamwork between Plunkett and Taylor, but at the end of the day, you had Rodney Mack with his Cobra Clutch forcing Alex Taylor to tap out. What did you think of this match, Tim?
Whose nephew is Brett Boucher?
Say that again.
Whose nephew is Buff Shea? I've never heard of him before. How did he get in this match? Why does he have Jamie Stanley's sunglasses? There was nothing for me going into this. I didn't know who he was. I was moderately confused, but you can see it's, like you mentioned, to give Rodney the ability to get a win with a Ricky Morton hot tag to Robert Gibson. I don't know. I mean, I like Rodney Mack. He's an old dog, and I like to see them do more. The last time we saw Rodney Mack, he lost because somebody blew loose tobacco in his eyes, and it burns. It burns the loose tobacco, don't you know? So, I don't know, man. This was a fast forward moment for me if I had thought about it a bit more.
DKM, your thoughts?
Didn't they kind of present it like Mac had like a mystery partner or surprise partner or something like that? Because I remember when they finally came out and announced it, I'm like, who is that? And why would you say some... I don't know that they came out and said it directly, but it does seem like they at least suggested that, Rodney Mack will have a partner. I'm going to guess it's one of his students.
I think so too.
I mean, just going by the fact that they were able to work well together, he kind of barked like Rodney and stuff like that. I'm going to go with one of his students. He didn't look the best to me. Probably needs to get a little tighter shade, do something tan. Look, I didn't think it was a bad match. I just didn't think it was necessarily a good match. And the only thing that made me happy was how Rodney kept his Cobra Clutch on after Weasel Boy, tapped, and he was still just like trying to choke, because that's what Rodney would do in real life. And so that made me happy. So if I were to rate this as a match of two, Ill Begotten or whatever they are, Jeremiah Plunkett, he's a 3. The ending was a 3, and buffet, or he looks like he's eating at a few buffets, and hair and beard guy, -2. Yeah, -2 for both of them. Except for he did do a good job getting the taste slapped out of his mouth by Rodney. And I could not tell. I was going to go back and look and forgot to, but it almost sounded like Rodney legitimately slapped the taste out of his mouth. I was going back to see, but it would not surprise me because it's Rodney.
Why has no one given Alex Taylor a Charles Manson gimmick yet? He's got a Charlie Manson vibes like just emanating off of him.
No, you're not wrong with that. The one thing that I will say about this is, we are towards the end of the barrel for the television tapings, and it seems like that's when all the weird matches get exposed. And it's like, again, DKM will be the first one to tell you there was no such thing as a 20-year plan. I'm now firmly believe there's no such thing as a 20-year plan, because they can't even figure out TV for 8 weeks, let alone a 20-year plan. It shouldn't be hard to have just matches that make sense, compelling storylines. I mean, at one point, Jax Dane got the slap taste out of him by Rodney Mack. I mean, he literally slapped him to the ground because he mentioned his wife being in the Hall of Fame. And it was just such a weird dichotomy when you look at that moment where he slapped Jax Dane and Dane went down, to now Rodney Mack a few weeks ago, like Tim suggested or pointed out, having the aired tobacco in his eyes, burning his eyes to make him lose the match. So losing to Jake Dumas, who is a mid-card guy at best, to winning this match, which is very irrelevant. I mean, this would have been the time that you'd have put maybe him and Jax Dane in a tag team, or in a match, not a tag team, but in a match for the national title. Maybe that would have been a better use of this time. Whether he win, lose, or draws, it doesn't matter. That would have at least had some sort of connected tissue to what happened a couple months ago. But this is just random, and that's what I don't appreciate. I don't like. I mean, if you're going to make a show, make it all random matches, that's fine. Do that under the Power Surge moniker, or save those just for YouTube exclusives. I don't know, but it just kind of messes with the whole continuity and the connectivity of this show. And that's a turnoff for me. It makes me not want to watch the show. Let's go back to what else happened on this show. Not that I know much of you guys want to talk about this, but the main event was the miserably faithful explode in the ring when you have Sal, your pal, not mine, and Gags the Gimp in a match. They've tried to play it off as this match was booked because the Sinister Minister wanted to punish both men, and I'm guessing maybe that was for their loss that they had from the Dirty Sexy Boys. Billy calls these two demented and broken individuals, and I that kind of stuck with me because he made it sound like you're talking about the guy who's producing the show, booking the show, responsible for the show, and he's trying to tell you that they're damaged goods, and that's why they act the way that they are. And it almost seemed like he was trying to humanize them after trying to demonize them for the last few months. So that whole line, it stuck with me, and I just felt like, well, that's a weird thing to say. But anyways, the match, this is worse than high school theater, and that's an inside joke for anyone who knows. Sal beats on Gags. Gags seems to enjoy it. It gets, again, this very uncomfortable level for me. And this is a Saturday morning show that, with the bright colors and everything, it kind of lends itself to maybe kids watching. But goddamn, I'm not going to let my kids watch this. At one point, Gags lays his head on Sal like, "Oh, I love you." And another point, he just hugs Sal because he's so happy that he's getting beaten on. That's weird. Very odd behavior. Then they also said that at some point that Gags was biting Sal like on the thigh, but the zipper was shut. It didn't even... why? Well, you could have played that off any other way, or at least had him take off the zipper so it was at least believable. The zipper's on. He's not biting anybody. That's just stupid. But anyways, Gags gets the victory, and I think you're looking at your future World Junior Heavyweight Champion. DK, you said point blank you weren't going to watch this one, did you?
No. I turned it off.
Tim?
I respect you, DK. I suffered through this monstrosity of a match. We have this joke amongst my friends about the Godfather movies. The Godfather, great movie. Godfather 2, arguably even better. And there is no Godfather 3. Never made. Don't know what you're talking about. And that's how I like to look at this match. Didn't happen. Don't care for anything that happened in it. Don't like the characters. I think what just to not to give it more time than it deserves, but you mentioned that strange comment that seemed to be humanizing them. I kind of assume that Billy's trying to get Gags over, like the question mark was over, and the question mark was over in, I think, in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I just it came organically, for lack of a better word. It just
very much
that's just a thing that happened there. You can't make that happen. Or if you can, it's very, very rare. And it's not happening for me. And I honestly just hope it goes away.
I think, because I was there at the first Atlanta tapings, and I was there for the debut of the question mark. And DKM and Jaden both were never fans of the question mark, but I think that they would take this gimmick over that one any day of the week. And the thing that was organic about that gimmick with the question mark is that it happened, and like you said, organically, because it was in front of the audience who had been sitting through a couple hours of TV taping, and you get this guy out there who's just over the top and ridiculous, but not in a way that would offend your sensibilities. Like, pro wrestling's always had a bit of silliness to it. And even Jim Crockett Promotions, which many people consider the holy grail of professional wrestling, even it had its silly moments. The question mark was nothing more than a silly gimmick that the fans really got attached to, and it kept going. Gags the Gimp is seriously offensive to my sensibilities. It makes me not want to watch the program. It makes me not want to support the brand. Again, if my kids are watching the TV, question mark grunting and groaning and practicing karate is perfectly acceptable, fine, even laughable. But Gags the Gimp pulling out his tongue and making very obscene gestures and trying to, like, when what was it, Dirty Dango is telling him to get down, very just not appropriate for pro wrestling, not appropriate for a younger fan base, not appropriate for kids at all, and just made me feel dirty. So I'm going to leave it at that. I would rather them put a Lasertron mask on Gags the Gimp and let him be something else entirely. This thing's got to go away sooner than later. And if it's the idea that Billy expects this to be something that continues with the show, I just hope it doesn't. With that being said, let's move down to.
I love Lasertron, Jay.
What's that?
I loved Lasertron.
I was a kid when I saw Lasertron. Mondo Guerrero. I mean, I loved playing
Not
Lasertron.
Mondo.
No.
Yeah. What was that?
Not Mondo.
Which Guerrero was it? Oh, Hector?
Yes.
My bad. Apologies to the Guerrero family.
That hurt.
I wrote an article about them many, many years ago when they were inducted into like a Hall of Fame. I think it was the WWE Hall of Fame. I wrote about it, and Chavo shared it. Chavo Jr. That was a very proud moment for me. So POWERRR starts off, and this is the season 8, episode 9. And maybe they should have just called this show POWERRR Trip 2 Card Subject to Change, because a couple of the matches were reworked. And I'm sure there were a lot of people disappointed when Mr. Smith wasn't cleared to wrestle, but we got some pretty good matches, and I was overall happy with the product. And I know that this is going to offend Willie Bowen in the audience, but the announce booth is Tim Storm, Tyrus, and Joe Galley, and I was very happy with that choice. In fact, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tirade here, and say that Tyrus 100% belongs in the booth, 100% adds value to that announce booth in ways that I think only Wade Barrett did before him. Even better than Tim Storm, Tyrus breaks down the matches. He gives you some insight into the stories and the characters that are involved in the stories. It was very refreshing to hear him. At this point, I'm ready to let him retire as the last NWA television champion. If they want to bring another belt back, they can bring back the North American title. I don't care. Let's just leave Tyrus with that belt. He can keep doing his interviews on Fox News, and he can keep doing the commentary work for NWA on their bigger shows, Power and pay-per-views, because I thought he did a great job. Did you guys have anything you would like to add to that?
DK?
He's good in the announce booth. He's a talker. He's a good talker, and that's where he belongs. And keep him out of the wrestling ring. And I'm not going to go as far as Jay. I put the TV title on somebody who the TV title's designed for, and let's go. Yo.
Yeah. I'd only add that I like him so much in the booth that we don't need Tim Storm anymore.
Nope.
He and Tim bring the same thing to the table, and Tyrus brings it better. So, but Tim Storm is great, and I think he ought to be sort of a, forgive me for using the words general manager or commissioner or something.
Executive producer.
Right. That he supposedly shares with Medusa. Just, I don't know, put him on Power, man. Like, I don't know. He's that much of a baby face. I think he'd be great in that kind of role. But you can take him out of the booth now. Just don't put Velvet back in.
No.
Hell no.
I think that experiment should be concluded now. I think the beautiful people, let them reunite as a tag team. Let her take over the responsibilities that Mae Valentine had on Power. I don't really care what you do, just not back in the booth. If the minute I see her back in the booth, I'm going to really think long and hard about just muting the whole program, because it's just not it's not for me. The first match we get is with Max the Impaler taking on Ella Envy. Now, Max the Impaler's moniker is the non-binary nightmare. She's still on the roster page for Ring of Honor. I think that's just a lapse of nobody really monitoring the website at this point. But Max the Impaler could definitely pass for the offspring of somebody like Big Van Vader. They are big, bad, intimidating, and very much the part that you wanted in this role. Ella Envy was perfect as the foil. She was the smaller, more docile, but she had that fighting spirit, if you will. She never stopped going after Max the Impaler with gusto. You could she did a great job of being scared and unsure of herself in the match, but she never stopped kicking. She never stopped punching. I really gained a lot of respect for Ella Envy in this match. When the phrase is respect is earned, Envy earned respect in this match. The whole time she's getting ragdogged by the Impaler, but just kept fighting back. However, her strikes really did nothing to the Impaler, who just kept coming time after time. Really didn't sell much. Gave a lot of offense, took hardly any. Great debut for both of them, but Max the Impaler wins with her modified backbreaker. I thought it was a pretty good match, a good introduction for Max the Impaler to the NWA audience. Good debut for Ella Envy on Power. I hope to see more of them and used more frequently. DK, what were your thoughts?
It was a good opening match. It played what it was supposed to play. The Big Monster beat up the Valiant underdog. There's no doubt he'd win, but the Valiant underdog fought bravely before, being squashed like a lot. And I don't mean that as harsh as it sounds. It was good for what it was. I didn't have any problem with it. It was an opening match. Yay. Tim?
Yeah, shades of Awesome Kong for me, and I wish he had sold a little bit more, but I guess that sort of defeats the purpose in the end. You're right, Jay. Ella Envy, it's so easy to not look at the person lying on their back at the end of the match and the job they did. She, the facial she was giving her was like, does anything stop, this person? And I don't know what it is about Max too, but she's got this. They have this crazy wildcat screech. Did you hear that noise that came out of
Yeah.
their mouth?
Yeah.
It was actually pretty awesome. So,
I enjoyed Max's debut very much, and like I said, you said Awesome Kong, and that's a great callback too.
yeah.
I just kept thinking Vader, especially when she was doing those Vader like just body squashes. They just jumped and clobbered Ella Envy, and it's like poor little Ella Envy had nowhere to go. She just got engulfed by this monster. And I think DKM's getting a phone call. What would Luthez do? Said next week we get Max After Dark. It's not funny. It's not funny, Lou. I don't want any After Dark episodes. None.
You know what else? What can you guys explain to me?
No.
Why did Mike Knox get the first 3 or 4 minutes of the show before this match even happened?
Yeah, you know
to say what? To tell us nothing, that he's a bad guy. And I see that they're naming an event after him down the road.
Yeah.
Whose cousin is he?
that was my goof. So he was supposed to wrestle Harry Smith. I didn't explain that.
No.
And, sorry.
Can you explain that?
What happened then?
So we were supposed to have Harry Smith versus Knox. That was the match that was booked. That was the match that was advertised. And it didn't happen because they said that Harry Smith wasn't medically cleared to wrestle. Now, I mean, I don't know if there's any truth to that. I don't know if he missed the booking. I don't know if he was sick. I don't know if he got COVID. And we'll never get the real answer to it anyways. But he just wasn't there. Our pal Trevor Murdoch was supposed to take on a returning Captain Yuma, which I was super excited to see because I miss Captain Yuma. I really enjoy Captain Yuma's work. He's my daughter's favorite wrestler. I've been watching that guy wrestle for damn near 12 years, 13 years. Him and his partner, Kevin Martinson, have won tag team titles all up and down Southern California. Most recently, he had been involved with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, where he had been like the Heritage Champion for some time. So I've always had an affinity for Yuma. Excuse me, you know what? I take it back. He did not hold the Heritage title. That was Avalon. But I still have had an affinity for Captain Yuma.
No, he held the Heritage title.
Right now? Say that again?
Yuma's a former Heritage champion.
Is he? Did I mess up?
He beat Hobo.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I'm going to look it up just so I can be certain of it, but I think you're right.
Because I think Avalon beat him, right?
He was the Heritage Champion. Yeah, he was the Heritage Champion for 182 days. Unfortunately, Cage Match has 0 of his title matches, and who came or who came after him. But yeah, it looks like he beat the Hobo, and Peter Avalon beat Yuma. So thank you. I thought I was right, but then I doubted myself. And Luthez, no, I'm not caroused about a Max After Dark show. Thank you very much. But yeah, that's so the match.
They would be happy.
What's that now?
They would be happy.
They might be. Trevor Murdoch was supposed to take on Captain Yuma. That match was changed. Mike Knox was supposed to take on Harry Smith. Harry Smith was not at the event. So that's why he had the promo in the beginning of the show to kind of explain why the card was changing. Next up, we have Scion with Kyle Davis. And what a pivot for Scion, right? I mean, just a couple weeks ago, he wanted nothing more than to be the television champion and to beat, to beat Tyrus for that TV title. And now you hear him say nothing but the national championship. That's the belt he wants. And, and he keeps saying national champion, but he never mentions Jack Stane by name. And that's probably because if you say the boogeyman's name 3 times in the dark while staring at a mirror, they show up. I think the minute he calls out Jack Staines, he's gonna be very disappointed with that decision. And it's not like Jax is a hard guy to find. I mean, he's 6'4", dude's wearing a fur coat, and he's bigger than all day. I mean, not a hard guy to find. So Scion just gets frustrated with Kyle Davis's questioning specifically about who's his father. And someone came into the comments on one of the old videos from a few weeks ago saying that Richie Steamboat was Scion. And I'm not saying he's correct, but I'm saying there's a lot of evidence to state he might be correct, because you got to remember the age is about the same as Scion. The look is not too far off. And I mean, you hide the face. We don't know what he really looks like underneath that mask. DKM, play with us here. What do you think? Could Scion be Ricky Steamboat Jr.?
No.
Fair enough.
For those who don't know, in the real world, Richie Steamboat Jr., the Steamboat Kid, hurt his back as he was trying to develop his career. That put him out of business. So, I mean, I don't know who he is. And can I just reach the point of telling you that I don't care who he is? I mean, I know who he is. It's not a big secret. You can find it on the internet easily. It's, again, I don't know where they're going with this angle. I'm sorry, the NWA is just another billionaire. He's a millionaire play toy, kind of like the billionaire who has AEW. Nothing has to make sense to anything other than the guy playing with his wrestling toys. You know, we all had the wrestling figures, we had a ring, and we booked our own matches. And, you know, what we did this week didn't have to make any sense to what we did last week. And, ooh, a cat.
Yeah.
And that's what we got. I don't know who he is. I don't know what the plan is. I don't know why there's a plan. And it's just somebody please save me from this. Please. Tim, do you care who Scion is?
No. Kyle Davis is the saving grace to a number of NWA segments. Nobody plays his part better than Kyle Davis. He's got amazing facials. He's got amazing body language. You know, when Scion, don't ever ask me again about who my father is. I'm like, he's very much a yes sir, I get it. You ever seen Kyle Davis without his jacket and tie on? He's jacked.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah. But anyway,
he used to wrestle. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but he was in Ring of Honor. His name was Kyle Durden. He wrestled for a brief time before becoming a manager and a mouthpiece. He actually worked for Dave Marquez's NWA Liberty States, which would later become NWA On Fire. But by the time it became On Fire, he was no longer involved with that project. But yeah, Kyle Davis has been around for a long time. And he's not just some wimp in a suit. He's actually a pretty built dude.
He's great on the mic. He's great in the role that they've given him, and he's about the only thing that can make this segment watchable, which is why I bring it up.
That takes us to the Joe Alonzo versus Scion match. Now, I knew nothing about this kid, Joe Alonzo. I barely even knew that the match was booked. But they go at it, and they go at it pretty hard. The commentary, again, I just feel so much better. You know, Tyrus is pointing out that Scion's not even fighting for himself. He's fighting for his dad. And it's just the way he's trying to put the pieces together makes the match even better as far as I'm concerned. And I don't love Tyrus, but I do really enjoy him in this capacity. The match, like I said, goes back and forth. It's not your typical NWA match. This is more of like an indie style wrestling match, and they really just let it all out. A lot of action out on the floor. Alonzo took that dive where he kind of hit the ground pretty hard. And it's weird when you watch Scion wrestling too, and Tyrus was kind of explaining it. He gets frustrated while he's in the ring, and when he gets frustrated, you'll notice his style of wrestling changes too, where he's not doing that technical style of wrestling or that more grappling style of wrestling. He gets very vicious with his forearm strikes or whatever kind of attack he's doing at the time. And it gets really brutal. Sion ends up getting the match after 3 rolling Death Valley drivers. The first one couldn't get the pin, so he ended up having to get 2 more just to beat Alonzo. Both of these guys looked great. I think Alonzo could be a great addition to the NWA on a full-time basis. I still hope they figure out something better to do with Sion. Tim, what were your thoughts on this match? I know you tweeted it, but share it with this audience.
Yeah, stole the show. Probably stole the season. Best match this season in my recent memory, anyway. Joe Alonzo Jr., I believe, is who he is on Twitter. He's got a great social media presence and some cool stuff on Twitter about behind the scenes in the NWA right now. You know what? With Sion's performance with Kyle, I just figured, okay, a nice squash to help us remember that Sion is someone not to be trifled with, even though he apparently can't win the TV title, so he fails upwards to the national championship, which I don't get. And to be surprised to see I didn't know anything about Alonzo either. To see something this good, and both of them looking really good when this is done. Like I said, it's not a 5-star match, but it's the closest thing I think the NWA has produced for Power in a long time.
DKM, your thoughts?
Hey, buddy.
Well, I'm going to give Tyrus props here. He's come the closest to anyone to make me care anything about Sion.
That's what I'm saying.
In isolation, the match was good, but this is where I'm going to go back to my theme from earlier. Longer than it was exciting. I was ready for it to end. I didn't need Joe Blow to be kicking out of the finish. I had no reason to be interested in this match other than it was a good match. I can't say I want to watch him wrestle again. I don't know. That's about it, really. Congratulations to Tyrus. You at least got me semi-interested in trying to figure out, or to try and think something of Simon. Didn't fully work, but closer than anybody else.
I also would like to just shout out Joe Alonzo recently has appeared on SmackDown being defeated by Gunther, appeared on Main Event being defeated by Veer Mahan, and looks like he's done a couple of other independent shows, has appeared on the AEW Dark. I had no idea who this dude was. I mean, he even took a loss to Cody on AEW Dark 30. But I'm glad to see some fresh blood in the NWA. It's one of those things we've talked about in the past where there's always this ever-evolving carousel of talent, and guys can come and go all the time. I'm more than happy to see guys like Joe Alonzo show up. I hope we could see more of them.
Yeah, it had a real 1, 2, 3 kid feel to me. Like, there were times when I thought, are they just bringing in this guy that nobody knows and they're going to put him over right now, and we've got a brand new talent for everyone to look at? I mean, Sion would be that guy, wouldn't he? If you wanted to do that?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, too. Like, how much heat would Sion really lose if he lost that match? Not a lot.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a whole lot going on for him right now anyways. Like, the path to the national title. Hell, they're not even defending the title at Power Trip 2. And so far, he is set to defend against Chris Adonis at the pay-per-view. You don't even see Sion booked for the pay-per-view as it stands.
He retweeted me yesterday or the day before and said, hey, NWA, I want a rematch. So that would be interesting to see these two go at it again.
You might see it. You might see it. You might see that at Always Ready. So, they haven't announced the junior heavyweight title match there yet either. So, Next up, we get Kyle Davis in the back with Jax Dane and Chris Silvio. And Jax Dane looks like a jacked up Dusty Rhodes with that fur coat. It reminded me of the days with Magnum TA and Dusty Rhodes coming to the podium back in the old Jim Crockett promotions with the fur coat. Nothing could look more out of place than Jax Dane in a fur coat, but at the same time, he's the Dane event, so he does what he wants. And he speaks about his upcoming tag team match that will be on this week's NWA USA, also filmed at Power Trip 2. He'll be teaming with Jake Dumas. And Dane says that he isn't a tag team wrestler anymore, but he'll give this kid a shot, let him ride his coattails. Classic Dane promo. He calls the NWA USA, it's now called the NWA Dane event. I always am happy to see Jax Dane on my TV. DK, what did you think about this one?
I just love Jax. So I'm not going to say anything bad about it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. So we'll leave it at that.
Mr. Tim Wood?
I don't dare say anything bad about Jax Dane with the two of you guys here. I never think he's booked right, but that's okay. He's physically amazing. I don't really know Chris Silvio Esquire, who was out there with him in that interview.
That's his attorney.
His attorney, yeah. That's kind of fun. Yeah.
And that guy is a very interesting dude. Like I know he works with Ohio, or had worked with Ohio Valley Wrestling and had been a part of their program for quite some time. When Bulletproof Blake Troop wrestled Jordan Clearwater in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, he was part of that entourage, which I was like, wait, man, hold on now. I know you don't live in California. Whose dime paid you to come out there just to be part of the entourage? Just very weird dynamic. And then I guess he's married to Genocide.
I believe so.
Oh
yeah.
Okay.
So he's well connected when it comes to the world of professional wrestling. I don't really dig the gimmick. I'm fine with him being the mouthpiece for Jax Dane, but as we've seen over the last few weeks, Jax Dane doesn't really need a mouthpiece. His promos are just fun for me. Anyways, I enjoy them. And it was a fine segment. It was good. I'd rather see him wrestling and defending that title, but that's not for me.
Oh, you asked for so much.
Yeah. Well, what are they not man enough to do it?
They're not man enough to do it. No, Jay. They're waiting for you to throw that in today.
I told you I was going to. Wrestling with MMA says, I have no problem with the NWA naming every show the Dane event. Cheers to that one. James H. Jackson says, Dane is one of the bright spots of the NWA. Again, I cheers to that one. Willie Bowen says, Jax Dane versus Coward Cardona for the NWA Worlds Heavyweight Championship. And to that I say, from your lips to Lutez's ears, our wrestling god, let's make that happen. I don't think it's going to, but I'm all for it. That takes us to the main event. Mike Knox, Trevor Murdoch. Now, I showed you guys, or I told you guys, what was supposed to be happening on this show. This is what they advertised. They advertised Trevor Murdoch versus Captain Yuma. They advertised Mike Knox versus Harry Smith. We should have looked at the poster a little bit closer because Jax Dane, or excuse me, Harry Smith did not show up. We did not see Captain Yuma. We just saw a Haas fight between two very large individuals who faced off a handful of times in the NWA, the least of which was this match this night. Probably one of my favorite matches between the two. Was very, very hands-on, very, very rugged. Just two big dudes beating the crap out of each other. There was that clothesline where Trevor Murdoch took Knox over the top rope, and he landed really hard on that concrete. I don't know if you guys saw that. And they mentioned it, that he kept wiggling his fingers. And Tyrus with this excellent commentary, brings up the fact that he's checking his extremities. He's seeing what's still working. And I don't know if that's even what he was really doing, but it sounded very believable to me. Neither of these men have been the same since they squared off the last time at Hard Times 2 or even on Power. And I did miss Harry Smith at this event, but this Haas fight was a lot of fun. And it kind of shows you that maybe Knox does deserve to be on this roster. The good old Haas fight was good old fashioned Haas fight was interrupted when Knox went to get a ring bell to use as a weapon and then put his hands on the referee, giving Murdoch the win. The match itself was good, a lot of fun, but I would have much rather see that Bulldog off the top rope to end the match. But ultimately, the finish is what it is. What did you guys think of it? DK, you go first.
Honestly, I don't know what they're doing with Trevor Murdoch, and I don't know what they're doing with Mike Knox. Outside of his 2 matches with Trevor Murdoch, he hasn't done a lot other than that short-lived tag team. Murdoch was kind of heelish, but now they're putting him in a match. And of course, Billy loves heel versus heel matches. I don't know why. And so now they're putting him in a match. Of course, he's naturally going to get cheered. He kind of gone from being a not that bright Trevor Murdoch, who got beaten down at the end of all his matches of note, to a badass Trevor Murdoch, who I wanted to know where this guy was when the World Championship was named. So they faced each other twice. Murdoch got clean victories both times, and then this one they do a screw job disqualification. It didn't advance either one of them. It didn't make me go, oh, now I really want to see Trevor, challenge back for the title. He couldn't be the guy he used to be, So, decent match, horrible finish, didn't do anything for either guy. Tim?
Yep, pretty much bang on. The part that made me laugh was when the bell came into the ring. Mike swings, misses, and then gently places it in the ring before being clotheslined over the top rope. That made me laugh. Didn't drop it, just actually physically put it down on the mat. Anyway.
Well, you can't damage the ring. There's still other matches that have to take place.
That's right. He deserves Jay to be on the NWA roster if Trevor Murdoch is going to be used in this capacity at this level, which is a shame. DK's looking at me like, what do you mean by that?
Yes, I'm looking at you like, what do you mean by that?
I mean that Trevor Murdoch's his bad booking continues here with this ending. And so if this is what he's going to get, fine, have him fight Mike Knox, and Mike Knox and his ilk can stay at this level in the NWA. It's a shame, but if this is what we're gonna get, like you said, Jay, where's the Bulldog off the top rope here? Also, is this the best one out of you said 3 times they've met now? Is it?
Well, maybe it's not the best one. I just feel like, so maybe the other 2 matches were ruined by Cardona being involved afterwards. The thing about it is, I think Knox is a guy who has a lot of potential. I don't need to hear him cut promos, and maybe he's a guy that should have a manager. Ones. Oh no, but he's a guy that can go out there and be believable, right? If you have him go out there and squash the ill-begotten, if you go out there and have him get a couple of, enhancement victories, and then put him in the ring with a guy like Tyrus, or put him in the ring with a guy like Jack Stain. And I know that's a heel-on-heel match, and we don't normally talk about heel-on-heel matches, but it would be a good victory for the champion. I don't need to see Mike Knox. Well, yeah, but I think that was the original plan, but he didn't show up.
Well, I know, but in other words, I'm saying if you put him with Harry Smith, you can put him in with Nick Aldis, who's a big guy. People forget how big Aldis is. Put him in with Doug Williams, who, actually of the 3 of them, he's the one that kind of scares me.
Yeah, well, I think the problem with Mike Knox is he hasn't. So the biggest problem with the whole picture here is that the booking is very suspect, and Nick Aldis gets a title shot because he beat who? Because he potentially beats Brian Myers, because he beat Ari Daivari, and because he beat Michael Bennett. Like, to me,
not
that
a very good match.
No, and to me that doesn't spell like world championship caliber opponent. And if anything, Always Ready, it should have been somebody other than Aldist. Again, Elijah Burke had a better claim because of his match with Matt Cardona on the TV taping. I think would have been more interesting and more compelling. They could have even played it up with Velvet Sky, gave Pope the shot. Here, I still have this, you take it, and let me be your manager for the night. Even that would have been more promising, I think, to me, than what they are doing now. So, I mean, the bad booking with all this, and it just goes all the way down the card. You've got a guy like Mike Knox who could be used to make your champions more believable, or your baby faces more believable, or really anything, right? Like, we still haven't got Mike Knox versus the Pope in a one-on-one match, have we? And that's the guy that the Pope, or that Mike Knox is the guy that put Pope out. We didn't get that match yet. I mean, come on, what's going on here? That was an easy match to have booked. That there could have been some real power promos, and I don't think we got that match unless I'm having a stroke or something.
For some reason, I'm thinking we might have, but I don't think it went anywhere.
I'm pulling it up right now. I know they faced each other at the Crockett Cup, right?
Well, they were in a tag team in the Crockett Cup, but I thought I think like one of his first match backs, maybe at the original Power Trip or something like that, but he ended up losing because he got too emotional.
You're right. Knox defeated the Pope at the first Power Trip, so you're right. Okay, but even to me, that I feel like that match would have been better suited than this one.
Yeah,
did they show it on TV? Because I honestly don't actually remember it that well.
Yeah, it was on Power Trip night 2, the second episode of Power Trip.
Okay.
But that just shows you how much of a throwaway match it was. None of us, maybe Tim remembered. I didn't remember it even happening.
No, I don't remember it. But I know they're scrambling here. But this was a feud that started with Mike comes into the cage out of nowhere. Oh my God, it's Mike Knox. Half of the people, I'm sure, going, who's Mike Knox? But locked himself in the cage and beat Trevor up in front of his kid, in front of his wife, and and then we had that little build that burned to where Trevor did get that victory. He did. I'm sure it was the Bulldog or the Pile Driver or whatever it was that he finished Knox off with the second time they met. Why are we doing this again?
Yeah. Especially
with Mike at the beginning of the show going, I don't know, you guys want to see me beat up Trevor Murdoch? Not really.
Well, that's the thing about that Oak Grove, Kentucky crowd. Why I think these shows should be where they tape Power, because that audience was into everything. All night they were hot. And, I get it that it's partially because that the NWA doesn't run there very often. They run so far it's been 3 times in the last year. But I think that could be a really good hot spot for them. I mean, Mike Knox doesn't have a storied career with the NWA. Back in 2003, he appeared in 0-1 as part of the UPW versus 0-1 relationship, where he and another gentleman took on Masato Tanaka and Shinjiro Otani. I don't think anybody remembers that. Mike Knox came to NWA Texoma back in 2016 and got beat by Apocalypse. Gene Snitsky and Mike Knox teamed up against Andrew Anderson and Rodney Mack in New Jersey back in 2017, one of the last NWA shows before Billy Corgan took over. And then we didn't see Mike Knox in an NWA ring again until December of 2021. And he's had 11 matches in the NWA since then. And I don't think one of them has been memorable or anything. Hasn't done a whole lot. His losses to Trevor Murdoch didn't really propel Trevor Murdoch to a higher level. It just happened. And I think that's the problem with the NWA is like these bookings, like they need to be meaningful. And again, like to DCam's point from many episodes of this podcast, 20-year plan, nothing. They can't even get TV right. They can't get a simple story told that makes both talents look good at the end, or if you're going to make somebody look bad, build them back up again so that they can be used in another way. It's all a recycling project, right? You're taking these talents who are known elsewhere, you put them in, you put these interesting storylines together, and then compelling wrestling, and we buy into it. But the disconnect is we're not getting the interesting storyline. We're not getting these things built up, so it's just kind of all pointless.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wrestling with MMA says, can someone please hide the "Yeah, I'm Mike from Wrestling" shirt? No one has ever walked up to him and asked if he was Mike Knox from Wrestling. That's maybe our buddy Vince says, it wasn't a good match, Jay, to be honest. But you're right, the booking is confusing. They need some help there. A lot of the former WWE behind the scene guys are out there looking for work now. Yeah, and I mean, it's not like they don't have some creative people that are on that show, both in the front of the camera and behind the camera. So, but you know what? I know we tend to like to keep the show about 2 hours, so we wrapped it up early tonight. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Wow, how did that happen?
There was only 3 matches on Power, and there wasn't enough promos. With that being said, please come back next week on Tuesday for the pre-party where me and the illustrious Mr. Tim Wood will be announcing the winner of either the Dome Globe Championship or the Royal Crown Championship. Tim is very kindly going to be offering one of those titles to one of our subscribers. And there's 1,010 subscribers now. And trust me, like at least 20 of those aren't even going to be counted because they're mostly my friends and family. So that won't happen. And DKM is not going to win the title. And of course, Tim doesn't want to win the title. That's why he's offering to give it away.
You cannot prove that 700 of those accounts are mine.
I cannot. And I don't want to know. As far
just saying, that cannot
YouTube,
be proven.
YouTube, I don't want to know.
I have a very important question to ask Tim.
Uh-oh.
Where's your white mask from when you wrestled as Mr. Wrestling?
Yeah, I wrestled. I've been thinking of wrestling as Mr. Wrestling 4 because I don't think there's one of those yet. That's a Woods. I'm a Wood, so I am the inferior of the two.
Oh, okay. Well, you should still have one of his masks.
I should. I've got a.
And his was the all white mask, not the white with the black trim. That was Mr. Wrestling number 2.
Right.
I've got a wrestling mask straight from Mexico.
Hey, I have some trivia for you since we have 2 more minutes or so.
Okay.
Our buddy Scion has held an NWA title in the former NWA promotion. Do you know which one? Look at him immediately go typing in.
You can see him.
I'm not going to answer, but I'm like, you're kind of ruining the surprise of the Masked Mystery Man that we don't normally bring up. But you go right ahead.
Oh, I'm not telling you who. I'm just saying he's actually held a title. I'm not even telling you what title, but he has held the title before in the NWA. So just know that.
Well, that was great. Please join us Tuesday, like I said, as part of the pre-party. Our good pal, our buddy Tim, who will be on this podcast more frequently, guys. I hope you're all good with that because it doesn't really matter. I've already made that decision.
He's not getting an equal cut, is he?
There is no equal cut. You're the only one that gets paid on this show.
Well, as long as it's me.
Yeah, it's you. You're that pay for play. That's the payola type thing, right? Pay to play.
Exactly.
And then also next Tuesday, the hour after Power, we'll be talking to former NWA referee Jeff Capo about his time with the National Wrestling Alliance. He was a referee during some of the golden era of the post TNA era of the NWA. So like he did a lot of refereeing for NWA Virginia. Was the official for the Damian Wayne versus Adam Pearce matches that were happening in that time. And my camera just died just now. So anyways, that's going to do it for us. If they want to follow you on social media, DK, how do they do that?
At DKMFWTX. You can find me primarily on Twitter if you want to, or you'll get some wrestling views and some football views and occasionally political views.
And Mr. Tim, how can they follow you on the socials?
I do have a website. I did start updating it a little bit, but it's got a long way to go to get all the stuff that's on the other social medias. But that's NWAGold.com. But I'm at NWA Gold or NWA Championships on anywhere else that you care to find.
Well, then that's going to do it for us, guys. Again, thank you so much for being here. We do appreciate you being here each and every week. And until next time, we will see you at the matches. Good night now. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.